up? It's your boy E.T. Look, if you're looking to or you got to raise the bar on your marriage, you gotta click the link and get into Married into Crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, this coaching is gonna take your relationship to another level. Now look, you already know you need to raise the bar. You know that already. So stop thinking or overthinking. Click that link, and Marriage into Crazy is gonna take you and your spouse to marital bliss. Now you know. Click the button. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Married into Crazy podcast with Snooks and Lovey. I'm Lovey.
I'm Snooks. And I almost said I'm Lovey. I don't know why. I feel like it's been a minute, huh?
It's been a while.
Okay.
We've had all these that were pre-recorded and
no, we had interviews last couple weeks.
Right. It was pre-recorded.
Oh, okay. Well, we're both right. Oh.
Okay. See, and that's one way we're going to just start this podcast off. Really, this you guys just got a glimpse into my life. For those of you that don't know that are new to the podcast, I'm going to break it down for you. Okay, we are a married couple coming up on 26 years of marriage in approximately 1 month.
Okay, maybe.
If I make it that far.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead.
But almost 26 years of marriage, and we've been through a lot. We've been through a variety of things. You know, everybody goes through stuff in their relationships and their marriages, but we've been through some stuff. We're talking about stabbings, multiple open heart surgeries as a result of the stabbings of ex-boyfriends.
Near divorces.
Near divorce. Plural? You're going to divorce me more than once?
Well.
So
we only talk about that one time I said it out loud.
Stuff. We go through stuff. And so we actually bring that to the forefront when we have our conversations, as well as bringing on other couples and to chat with you, just different things. And hopefully you're finding value in that. And if you are finding value, what we are asking in this season of giving is that you reach out to a friend, go on social media, let people know about the Married into Crazy podcast, whether it's your IG or your TikTok or your Facebook or whatever. Let people know about the podcast and send them over to wherever they download their podcast and ask them to download, subscribe, and leave a review for the Married into Crazy. She's holding her hand up. 5.
For 5. I'm sorry. Yeah, duh. Put 5 on it.
Put 5 on it. And so we ask that you do that. That's the one thing that we do ask. And of course, the other thing is just to patronize some of the things that we do. We give a lot of free content. We bring on these amazing couples, these amazing experts to have these conversations to help you build a strong, lasting relationship, marriage. And all we ask in return is that, you know, you go ahead and build a little traffic towards, you know, marriedintocrazy.com and just take a look at the different things that you can benefit from in that respect. Some of that is the new gear.
I was about to say something. Gear.
If you can see me with my snapback. There's been some great suggestions over the last.
Turn sideways though, because I want to point out the logos right on the side too. Okay, go ahead.
Kind of stole that idea from my mentor.
It don't matter. They don't need to know that.
But you know what's funny is that, well, it's our logo and all that, just the design. What's funny though is that when I got the first prototype of the hat, first thing Ashanti said was, "Doesn't ET have a hat like that?" And I was like, well, he has his logo and his information and the different things on there. She's like, yeah, but it reminds me of that. And I'm like, well, I guess that's not a bad thing. You know?
Well, I mean, there's worse things that you could be reminded of.
True. I mean, he is my mentor. So, of course, I'm going to learn from him. If he's got the tried and true blueprint, then, of course, I'm going to duplicate and change it a little bit. But anyway, so enough about the clothing. But please feel free to go get some Married into Crazy gear. There's some great stuff that's on there. We hope you like it and give us some feedback on that as well.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't think that we really got to say Happy Thanksgiving and inquire about everyone's Thanksgiving and stuff like that.
Happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Okay. That part. Happy Family Day. I'll just say that. I feel like more people are into the Thanksgiving part of it, or the Thanksgiving
thanks
than like with Christmas. It's like people are way more, the people that I know seem to be way more excited about Thanksgiving than they are about Christmas. I don't know why. I know people that have like their Thanksgiving celebration is humongous, like how our Christmas one is. Our
Right.
Christmas is out of control. Not out of control in the
It's out of
bad way.
control.
Not in a bad way though. Not in a bad way. Because what you saying that because my family's here? No, you're shame. Anyway,
I didn't say it.
well, because my family's here and we roll deep. So it's like what?
Steady
About
mobbing.
60 people here. But for me, this is the season. 'Tis the season for me. I love, 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 love Christmas. And this year it's even more special because, we have our grandson. He's been staying with us. Most of you guys know about little Zay, our journey that we're on with him. So we're so excited about it. I just want to kind of say this is kind of funny. So our youngest, this is how your children are spoiled. Our youngest is 19. And so we're like, okay, you guys, as you get older, obviously your presents kind of dwindle down. I said, but this year I was like, it's all about Zay. And she was like, okay, so what does that really mean though? I was like, well, wait, what do you mean? I said, because I know you guys are getting them stuff too. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but when you say it's all about Zay, like, what do you mean? It's all about Zay. So she's like, so we're not getting presents. I said, no, you are, because we have them send us a list of the things that they want. We go through and pick out what we want to get them. So she says, so is it going to be a light load? Is it going to be a heavy load? I said, it's going to be no load if you keep on talking.
Right. The longer you talk. And I told her straight up, like, babe, you're no longer the baby. I mean, you're our baby, but Zay is the baby.
Well, that is almost fighting. That's fighting words for her. You might as well call her a B word by saying you're no longer the baby.
Claiming it, holding on to it.
She's like, I am the baby. I'm the baby.
Snooks posted a picture earlier of a note that Kiana wrote years ago.
Oh, okay.
How old was she?
She was 8. So in 2011, for a long time, from the time that she was 5 to like maybe 10, she would always say, I want a brother. I want a brother. And I'm like, there's no more a baby brother. She wanted to be a big sister. And I was like, there are no more children coming from me. So dad better not have none pop up anywhere either.
I don't know where my kids are at. So
but she just fixated on having a little brother. So she wrote this note and says, if you're Rana, get Ernest. If you're Ernest, get Rana, so that we could read the note together. And she said how she wanted to be a big sister. She wanted to have a little brother. And I thought it was so funny because now she basically, even he's her nephew, but it's almost like little brother, and she's regretting it. And so I was like, Lovey was like, so you better watch what you say because things manifest, It took 11 years
for it to manifest.
and here he is.
Little brother.
Right, now you're complaining, but yeah.
And they argue like siblings. It's crazy.
My gosh, like crazy. But I say that because, it's Christmas time and, it's the season for sharing and the season for giving. And they're excited. Everyone's excited for his Christmas. Everyone's excited for his Christmas. So
it's our Christmas, but yeah, he's getting the bulk of it, of course. What's interesting too is that
Christmas.
This is, it's a family Christmas.
Oh, it's his Christmas.
So it's his Christmas.
It's his Christmas.
I'm starting to feel like Kiki. Hold on, man.
Well, you are her twin.
Is it the light load? Is this going to be her?
And you know what? Levy had nerve to, he kind of says that anyway, when we're talking about like giving gifts. I'm a big gift giver. I love to give
She's a
gifts.
big gift spender.
I spend it on other people. So I'm giving gifts. I'm a giver, like I said. Anyway, so he's basically like, we doing light loads or are we doing, heavy lifting? What are we doing?
At what point do we cut the nieces, nephews, and children off when, they get old enough?
My mom gave me Christmas presents for a very long time as a married woman and a mother. So I still got a gift.
Okay. I'm just asking. It was a question from
no one
from somewhere. I was asking for a friend. When's the cutoff?
No one there. The cutoff comes when we decide that we don't want to give them any gifts anymore.
I'm good with it.
Have you decided that?
No, I'm good with it. I love giving stuff to my nieces and nephews and
okay.
all that. So anyway, I was just curious.
So where were you going with that?
See, here's what's funny. We talk about this season, right? She loves this season. She's like, she loves it, loves it, loves it. She loves shopping. I'm not so much into all that. But here's the thing. Even though it's
Shop
online,
as much as I used
no,
to.
you don't. But here's the thing.
Okay.
This season is supposed to be about so much more than just the gifts and the shopping. And it's supposed to be about Christ. It's supposed to be about Christ mas, more Christ. Cristo mas, right? Christ more.
Are you giving more Christ?
I am.
You're giving more
Because I'm giving grace. Because I'm giving grace.
We gotta check him every day. I'm like, Lovey, stop it.
Okay, that's not all the way true though. Hey, I just got to put this out there. And trust, folks, we do have a topic we're moving towards. But I do have to say this: we're getting Kiana situated. I had to go up to the college with her for financial aid because they had messed up thoroughly on our financial aid, not just in the last semester, but for the last year and a half. They have not been processing my VA benefits like they should have.
Mm-hmm.
So I went up there and I was working with them. The first thing I said was, okay, I want to talk to a supervisor. Let me talk to the officer that is in charge. And they were like, no, you have to talk to us at the window. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm talking to you now. Now go get your supervisor. So I just kept going through it. I thought I was being the kinder, gentler me.
So you, what
Kiana.
about Kiana?
So the lady gets up, the young girl gets up. She goes back to talk to the counselor or the whatchamacallit, the financial aid officer. And Kiana goes, could you stop doing that? I'm like, doing what? She's like, oh, you're being so passive aggressive.
She didn't use it in the right context at all.
And I was like, are you serious? And she's like, yeah. I go, I thought I did good. So I was like, okay, I'll be better. So when the girl comes back up there, I'm asking some more questions and I'm being nice and I'm trying to, lather them with, all this love and kindness.
That you're not used to.
And I asked, so she goes up and she asks, because she wouldn't bring me the officer. So then she goes back, she says, well, let me go ask her again. And as she's walking away, I whispered to Kiana, well, you wouldn't have to go ask her again if you would just bring her up here like I asked you to. Dad, stop. I was like, she couldn't hear me. I go, and plus, wasn't that better? She looks at me and goes, no, it was not better. So when the girl comes back up there, again, without the counselor, I asked her, excuse me, did I sound like I was being passive aggressive when I was? So I just asked her. And she was like, no. And I'm like, would you tell me if I was? And she just smiled. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I was being a little aggressive. But eventually I did get that counselor and I had to tell Snooks about it.
A little aggressive. So here's the thing with Lovey. I'm gonna say this right now. Lovey will get stuff done. If we want things to happen, we call him because he'll get it done. He's very diplomatic. He's very he operates. You all have heard us talk about our disc assessments and whatnot. So he's like a very high D, a high pilot. That means he really doesn't care too much about the collateral damage. Maybe when he's out in public, he does a little tiny bit, but not really at home.
I hide the bodies better.
You got more space. But Lovey will get it done, And it's so funny that she even says that because when they come to me, it's a whole different type of ball game. Because I am not a high D, I'm my S and high C, but my D is very small. And so I've said before, I'm not a high D, but I can be a high B word. So my B word can go through the roof, especially if I feel like you coming for my family or you doing something wrong, they'll say, Mom, no, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I'm like, well, you better call your dad then, So we've established that Lovey will get supervisors. He will get the managers. I will get security. So it's two different S's that are happening. They'll call the supervisor for him. They'll call security on me because I might just go off. I don't know.
Straight up truth. There's plenty of times, Rana, I can even see it. It's like you can see if a volcano would swell before it explodes, I could actually see Snooks getting to the point where it's like, let me step in real quick. And I know it's bad when she puts her hand up and she stops me. Because she's like, oh no, you're going to help me hide this body because I'm about to bury somebody.
Here's my thing. I operate in respect. I will respect you. You will respect me. But once you get to that, what I call that disrespect stage or that level, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. We're not doing that right now. So I'm going to meet you where you at and you just going to have to come deal with it. That's all I'm saying.
Facts. Yeah. So meanwhile, once the bodies have collected, then they leave it up to me to try and diplomatically
go over there,
work our way out of that. It's like, yeah, we got these bodies piled up over here. Can I talk to a supervisor? Because there was a mishap.
No, Lovey's good at that. He really is. And I think I'm good too. It just really is situational.
It truly
It's
is.
very situational because there are times where I feel like I need to squeeze his hand and like let me get in front because I'm understanding he's at the 99 percentile of the high D, which sometimes, being honest, some high Ds come across as being cocky,
Immature. It,
arrogant,
that's
you know.
and there's times where I vacillate between being an immature um, high D or pilot and a mature one. I try and spend the majority of my time in that mature area, but I know that there's moments where you flip the switch and hey, I will
I'm
fly
like,
the plane.
go get my husband
I
before
go
he calls
I
somebody
go
else.
straight from leisurely 747. We going on vacation pilot to you just put me in a single person cockpit kamikaze because we all about to die right now.
And he'll start it out like, let me tell you what's going to happen.
I have said that a few
Let me
times.
tell you what's going to happen. Either what's going to happen, or let me tell you what you're going to do. So when those come out, I'm like, let me get in there.
I will give
Let me
you
get
options.
in there.
But look, here's some of the options that we want to talk about today. One thing I noticed, and Snooks brought this to my attention, but one thing I noticed is that every time we get around this time of year, I do get a little anxious. There's a little bit of anxiety because
I wouldn't say a little. I would say more, a little. There's moderate, and then there's a lot. You're more moderate. You're moderate to high. I mean,
just during the season.
just being honest. Yeah.
Okay.
And then afterwards, when January is here, he's like, woo, we really navigated that.
Well, because we have a tendency to historically.
Okay, go ahead.
Historically, and I think a lot of families go through this, is that some of the budget is blown because we get into that giving mode, and it's like, oh, and what about this niece, my cousin's best friend's next door neighbor's veterinarian? They just had a kid. We need to get them something, and I love having a giving spirit, but I also feel like, sometimes we got to be mindful of the finances. Now, sometimes we got to be mindful of the finances and make sure we're being good stewards.
I agree with that. But see, so this is where we kind of differ, because I feel like I'm being a good steward because I've allotted for the money already. I already know in my mind I'm going to spend X amount, and that amount covers, it's like an umbrella amount. Now every now and then I'm not
doing umbrella gift policies.
I'm not gonna lie and say I don't sometimes sneak some other folk in there, but for the most part, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna
like a politician.
I'm gonna spend this amount. So when Lovey is like, the doorbell's and he's just like, what's going on? Why are you, this is another box for you. This is another box for you. This is another box for you. And I'm like, okay, it's for Christmas. And well, how much are we? And blah, blah, blah. And so then he wants to go look at the bank account. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, here we go. And he'll actually just make me just say, forget your Christmas present. Everybody else get presents but you. You get a present. You get a present. You don't get a present because you're not being nice.
I feel like Charlie Brown. I got a rock. So we were discussing it recently, and then so Snooks today approaches me with this article, and it was an article in Forbes magazine, and it talks about basically, are separate bank accounts good for your relationship? And there's psychological research that was actually done. And what was the article? It was in
Psychology
Journal of Personality and Social Psychology.
Okay. So I mean, it's a psychological.
So ever since we got married, and it's interesting because there's so many couples that we've spoken with over the course of time, whether we're coaching, counseling over the years, or I should say counseled over the years, or just people that we just get in these conversations with friends. And it seems like there's quite a few different takes. Some people have separate bank accounts. Some people have multiple bank accounts. I just heard somebody the other day talk about how there needs to be 3 different types of bank. Was it 3 different types of bank accounts? You each need to have your own separate bank account. There needs to be a bank account specifically for
the household,
the bills, right? Okay. And then there needs to be each like a little fund money, like a little separate thing that that's just dog-eared for you, and that I can't see and that you have that I can't, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we both have that. And at the time I was like, I like how we do it, which is it's just one big pot.
It's fun until Christmas.
I can see that. And the question is, what do you guys do? What do you think is the best route? Because everybody has a different philosophy when it comes to a variety of different things as it pertains to marriage. But what about your finances? There is data in social psychology journals that are peer reviewed that suggest that couples who pull their money compared to couples who keep all of their money separate
Mm-hmm.
are happier in their marriage and relationships and are less likely to suffer divorce or a breakup.
So, my take on that, as far as the less likely divorce kind of thing, I mean, it for me, marriage is about unity. Well, it's not just about that, but a big part of marriage is unity, is being one, is being together. So if we are separate in different areas, I feel like it's easier to be separate, that you'll find it easier to go along with more separate things later on. Does that make sense?
Right.
So like Lovey was saying, our accounts are all together. We have different accounts and we're both on all of the accounts. I don't have a separate account for myself. He doesn't have a separate account for himself, not that I know of. I'll let y'all know when I do my investigating. No, but and we do whatever it is that we do. I feel like the other part of that is it will increase the need for communication. So if I got my own money, I'm finna do my own thing. I might not even tell you what's going on or whatever. I could just be doing my own stuff over on one side and you'd be like, wait, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. But if we're together on all levels, then I'm like, babe, I want to do this or I want to do that. And it's not a matter of, I think some people look at it like, well, I don't need to get your permission to do nothing because I have a job and I contribute to this household and blah, blah, blah. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like we're having a communication or a conversation and we're communicating about, I'm letting you know, hey, I'm going to go do this, unless there's something else that you wanted to do. And it typically doesn't have anything to do with the money part of it. It's just about,
right. It boils down to communication, right? Making sure that you have shared values. And we're going to get to this a little bit later, a little bit more. But I think I agree with you 100%, obviously, because that was us from day one. We have never, from the time we got married, we have not ever had separate accounts. We immediately kind of like just threw everything in the pot and said it's all or nothing.
Some days I think you might have resented that.
Oh, I have multiple times, especially when the IRS came knocking.
That was 25 years ago.
Seriously, I'm just saying.
Why you always bringing up old stuff?
Because I don't want the IRS on me.
You don't want them on you. I get that. That happened one time. 25 years ago.
Read the fine print, fellas.
Can you still stick in the now?
Make sure. Okay, yeah. Let me.
Thank you.
There's trauma. I got to work.
Wow. Wow.
No, but it's interesting because, I think that there's some credibility to what you're saying when it comes to more communication. There's things that we do all the time that there's absolutely no reason why I should call you up and say, hey, I was thinking about doing this. But I do anyway. And we over communicate. We have a tendency to over communicate. And I think that's something that developed after we almost got divorced. That we got to the point where on our bounce back, we just ended up making a very conscious effort to make sure that there's absolute transparency and clarity in everything that we do. Wasn't always the case because, if you think about it, beforehand, before that moment, we had so many issues. Like Snooks damn near bought a car for her brother without telling me.
Mm-hmm.
And
I didn't know. No, I didn't buy the car for him. I co-signed. He was making the payment. So I didn't buy it.
I distinctly remember a couple of times he didn't make the payment and you did.
Payment? My mom did, because she did not want that to go on my credit.
Yeah. So
So
anyway,
then,
stuff like that.
mhm.
But that was beforehand. But so we over communicate now. So like even when it came to me getting tattoos, I finally got my tattoos finished where I had the grandbabies added to my arm, the baby phoenixes rising up to join the phoenix, and had it redone. But before even doing it, it's like she knew I've had this idea for years, and then when I finally came time to do it, I knew I had a permission, and not that it's permission, but I knew that she
It
would
was.
she co-signed on it. Like, yeah, you know what? Whenever you want to do it, do it. I mean, I don't
Mhm.
really care. She knew about it, but I still, I don't know if it's courtesy or what have you. I was like, hey, babe, I want to get this done. You cool with it? Just checking to make sure that there wasn't something else that was taking precedence that was more important at the time.
Yeah. Maybe we're like that because like you said earlier, where we came from as far as the with the almost divorce and the way that we our lack of communication before, we saw that as one of the main reasons why we were in the place that we were in, because we were not being effective in our communication, because I was like, whatever. And he was like, okay, shrugging his shoulders or what have you. So much stuff had just continued to go on that we didn't really address. Now, like you said, maybe we over communicate. Because sometimes I'd be like, babe, I don't care. Just go do whatever. And he's, well, blah, 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 whatever. And I appreciate it. But for us, maybe that's why we are the way that we are, as far as like
Gotcha.
talking all the time. And then, there are some people for that they have separate accounts because of their experiences or the people that they watched while they were growing up. Some people, it's instilled in some folks' head that you don't commingle your funds, because what if this happens or what if that happens? And you always got to have something for a rainy day, or just in case. I feel like, just for me personally, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but for me, I always have felt like if I have a just if I'm always thinking just in case, I'm preparing myself for it to happen. Just like what's that saying? If you go looking for something, you're going to find it.
Absolutely.
And that doesn't mean I walk around with my head under a rock or in the dirt, or I'm not very aware of what's going on in my relationship or with my husband. I do know what's going on, but I feel like this comes from a place of trust. Maybe in a little bit of fear on his part, because he already know.
It's not fear, but it's funny. I think you
You
bring up,
better be scared.
again, extremely valid point, because I was sitting here reflecting on the relationships that I can only speak to, really my mom's relationships,
Mm-hmm.
her marriages.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in the house all the time with my dad. For his, I was more of a visitor,
Mm-hmm.
in that domain. But when my mom always had something on the side and it was hidden,
Mm-hmm.
and I trust that my stepfather's same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all this secrecy, and
Mm-hmm.
and it was almost like, well, why are you two even together?
Mm-hmm.
I always had that thought, like, oh, that just doesn't make any sense. And don't get me wrong, ladies and fellas, I
That's
know
what I
that
say.
people have been
Amen.
burned to where you've been taken advantage of,
Mm-hmm.
and so, or you've witnessed people get taken advantage of, and so it's been etched into your soul, into your absolute being, that you always make sure that you have money on your side, but then that's operating from a place of scarcity and fear. And I'm not saying it's valid. I say that there's work that needs to be done on that scarcity and fear. It's not the finances that are the challenge. It's A, finding the right person, but B, also doing the shadow work to ensure that you can get to a point of vulnerability, a point of trust, a point of being able to move beyond the trauma that had created this entire environment. Because if we don't get past that root of the cause, right? The root, that trauma that developed because of what you witnessed or what you experienced in the past, you're never ever truly going to bear the fruit that you want in your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Finances are just one of the fruits that the tree of marriage is going to be able to
Mm-hmm.
bear.
That's true. That's very true. And it's funny because I've said it before. I was raised by a single woman, and because of I want to say what happened in her relationship with my biological father, and even maybe my aunts or uncles or whoever cousins that she was, had front row seats to seeing. She always told me, you don't depend on nobody, you don't blah 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 whatever, and you make sure that if you got to get gone, you have some resources to do that. And I was like, okay, cool, bet. Still felt like you also, like, if I feel like that, I ain't about to be married to this person or what have you. But then as I got older and had relationship with someone else, and I was like, oh, I could see why she would say that, or I could see why they would think that, because the negative experiences that I was having in that relationship. But at the same time, number one, we weren't married. But number two, I feel like, okay, I ain't finna marry him. I'm not going, because I can't be, you know, there's no way that I know that he and I would be a good together. So let me go, because it wasn't even I can't trust him on some infidelity type stuff. I just can't trust you because of your character or because of whatever. You know, um if there is an issue with that and you see it, sometimes we see red flags and we bat them away. We're like, "Oh no, we don't open our eyes to what we really see, because the heart wants what it wants, you know. So I might be mindful and be like, oh, I see this, I see that, blah, 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 blah. And then I start putting up these barriers. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world.
So
And it makes me wonder, because we both come from, I don't know if I would call it lower middle class or slightly below middle class.
struggling middle class.
Struggling middle class.
Struggling middle class.
It was like, look, who was it? It was I can't, what can we, oh, it was, I think it was Dave Chappelle that said that he was middle class enough just to hang out with the poor white folks.
Right. There were no tracks.
Right. But it's interesting. So because of that, the study had said something that really stood out to me as well. It said that the pooling strategy seems to be especially beneficial for low income couples.
Mm-hmm. I could see that. I mean, because just look at how much rent is for an apartment. So not in where we live, I don't know how much the rent goes around here, but out in the Natomas area or Sacramento area, I know people that are paying like over $2,000 a month for an apartment, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, or whatever. To me, that is outrageous, just because I'm like, that's a house note.
Like, you do know you're paying our house note,
basically, and you still got a little bit of change left over.
right? And so here's the thing. It said that although joining bank accounts can benefit all couples, the effect is particularly strong among couples with scarce financial resources, those with low household income who report feeling financially distressed. So there were some different points. So there were several studies that they looked at, right? Mm-hmm. Or I shouldn't say subsets of data that they specifically looked at that supported their conclusion. They looked at over 1,000 married couples, a little over 1,000 married couples. And they were asked on this survey, their relationship satisfaction, as well as how they manage their finances with their spouse. Now, the couples who pulled all of their money, right, were significantly happier than couples who kept their finances separate. Couples who partially pooled their money were happier than those who kept things separate, but not as happy as those that pulled all their money.
So let me ask you before I give my little input on why I think. So why do you think that is? I mean, they could come up with reasons why. No, why personally, why do you think that is?
In the conclusion of the study, they did actually have a hypothesis. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the same thing similar to what we talked about on a previous podcast. And that was that there's shared values. So instead of shared values, we're talking about shared finances. Mm-hmm. That now there's a sense that, we're going through it together, and we're going to work our way out of this thing together. Mm-hmm. So we're going to pool our resources, we're going to pool our money, and we're going to come up together. So we're making decisions together. We're in this fight together. And that's why there's a little bit more of satisfaction in the relationship, because there's more togetherness. Even though we're talking finances, there's more togetherness.
Yeah. I agree with that. I feel like a lot of times, well, because when everything is put in there, I'm not worried about how much you're gonna give me for the SMUD or the PG&E when we're splitting everything down the middle. And this is just, this is just my own take. I don't want to offend anyone. I hope no one gets offended by anything I'm saying. But it's like it almost can become uh combative in a competition, because if I'm feeling like I'm paying more than you're paying, or how come we're talking too much about how we're splitting and divvying up the bills. You pay your half, I pay my half. And I'm gonna make sure my half is right to the penny. This is my half. I'm not paying extra. I'm not gonna pay more, because that wouldn't be fair. So now it becomes, like I said, it could become confrontational. It could be rooted in competition. And now if I feel like it's not being fair, now we're not equal.
Oh yeah. Well, we've seen it.
Well, yeah, we've
seen it where
seen
it's
it.
like, oh, well, I pay for the groceries and the utilities, and he or she pays for the mortgage.
Mhm.
Oh, well, I ain't got nothing. Well, I can't make the mortgage because XYZ. I had to get tires for the car. And Oh, well, you got to come up with it somehow. Somehow, somewhere along the way, they forgot that they both live there.
I know.
When the eviction notice comes up, it
It's
doesn't
not
say,
gonna say just one
okay,
person's
well, he got to
name.
go, but you can stay, because we
Mhm.
know that that was his responsibility, and you guys agreed on that.
Mhm.
It's pooled circumstances, pooled consequences.
Yeah, that's true.
So to me, it should be pooled resources.
But there are some people who make it work
Some do.
like clockwork. I mean, they are on it. And it would be great to actually hear from someone who a couple that is doing that. They keep their money separate and they're living the life, and they're doing great or whatever. I mean, maybe they can come on the show and talk,
Ooh, that would be good.
help school some other folks that,
We should
you
have.
know,
We'll get a debate.
no, it's not going to be a debate.
It's a debate.
No, it's
It's full on debate. We're gonna end up having the
no,
couples
it's
that pull
not.
resources versus the couples that actually keep it separate.
I mean, because okay, at the end of the day, we all know, like you said, finances is just one component of the relationship, but it's also a big enough component to where if the finances are not right, it will affect other areas in the relationship. So, um, it's like if I make a certain amount and you make a certain amount, oh well, it wouldn't even be a competition for us because you make like 3 times what I make. So I'm like, well,
Don't you ever forget that. No.
we also got married in California.
Yeah, I
And
know.
don't you ever, there you go. Good job. Good job.
I knew that was coming.
But no, but it could become so. I mean, I wonder how is it split up based on income? Would it be split up based on bills? We're going 50-50 all the way down, or is it a percentage of I make this amount, you make that amount, so we both put in a certain percentage of the amounts? I mean, it could get kind of tricky. I feel like it
And
can just get kind of tricky.
I think every house would do it differently depending upon
Yeah,
their skill sets and their belief systems,
right.
whatever. And again, this goes back to what we talked about maybe one or two. Well, actually, it was several podcasts ago about the shared values. We're talking about, okay, we need to build,
Mhm.
a dream board, not just on or a vision board. It should be more of a value board,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
Well, some of those values that we need to discuss up front, as we're building out these dreams for our future, should be around finances as well. Not the the pie in the sky. Oh, we want to have $1 million in the bank. Okay, so who's bank?
What's wrong with
Whose
that?
account? Whose account's that going to be in?
Yeah.
Is that going to be in my account or your account?
Well,
Or is that in the pooled account? Or is that?
that's in the pooled account.
But I'm just saying. I mean, but these are the things that need to be discussed. But if
Mhm.
you can find shared values
Mhm.
in these conversations, because maybe there's things, again, getting back to the root of the challenge. Maybe there are things that have never been discussed or never really gone into detail that are driving these decisions or driving these behaviors. And so as you're having these discussions about your finances, why do I need to have it separate? Why do I want to have it for a rainy day just in case?
Mhm.
What do you mean just in case? I treat you, I love you, Well, you just never know. Well, wait, where's that coming from? You got to get behind that and then figure out what happened to you.
Get to the root.
Right? Get to the root, right? Dig a little bit deeper, just like the TED Talk I did, where it's just about moving past the fruit toward the root. And in doing that, you'll be able to start to discover, what are your values? Oh man, I didn't know that it was that bad for you, or so then you start to sit and say, well, it's my job to make sure I can be the best spouse for you.
Yeah.
So let's build up again.
Well, and then like you said, it brings understanding too. Now I know the reasons, the motives behind it is not because you're connecting the power of the most money to, because money is power, let's just be real. He who has the most money typically is the one in control, except for in our house. So,
She ain't lying.
but no, we can disconnect or the power, the power that money actually has in the relationship, because financial abuse is a thing too. You make more, so now you got to say so, and you got to, no, that's not, it shouldn't be like that. So when you sit down and you have those conversations, this is why I respond the way that I respond, this is why I feel the way that I feel. Okay, so now we could maybe move towards more cohesiveness, to where we can feel more like we're meshed together, we're more together.
So to that extent, to that point, it also leads me to another call out that was in the study, and that was that sometimes there's a time differential. There's a time difference between, in the very beginning of relationships, the early stage relationships seemed to be more okay, and there was really no correlation found between having your money pooled versus money separate, because early in the relationship, they were okay. You had two, yeah, and they didn't really mind so much if it was separate. But as a relationship, as the years went on, then it became more of a determinant as to whether or not, because there was one of the studies that actually showed over in, I'm trying to think, where was that? There was a link between pooled finances and relationship satisfaction. The researchers looked to see how, oh, that's what it was. And I lost it again just that quick.
I'm like, babe.
I know. I was trying to find this one particular statistic, and I can't really find it now. But the bottom line was that individuals, it really did become a predictor that there was a higher percentage of individuals that split up over time if they kept their money separate. I would say if. I want to make it causal.
When they, it's not saying that what the other things that happen in the relationship, what they happen to be, but it was just that the research showed that the people who did have their money separate,
they had a higher percentage of breakups or divorces.
Even though we don't know the other predictors that, or the other things that happened, but other determinants, I should say, that happened in that relationship.
There's lots of variables, and we don't know what the other ones were, but it did specifically state that. Just looking at it for this particular data point or this data set, that's what it was looking at. And again, it was a study with social psychology, and actually there was a different one. There was the one that we're quoting right now was the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. And then there was another one, while there's no right answer, right, to how couples should manage their finances, because we just talked through a variety of different things. I think it should be a topic of conversation. Again, we talk about over communicating. One recent study that was published in Social Psychology and Personality Science found that economically disadvantaged couples were more likely to experience declines in marital satisfaction after the honeymoon phase, which is what you just called out, compared to financially stable couples. And I think that when you have individuals that are happy with where they are, what is the determinant, right? What is the definition of economically disadvantaged and financially stable?
Well, are you asking?
Well, I just throwing it out there. It's kind of a rhetorical question, because I think it varies for different people.
Well, I mean, when I hear disadvantage, that for me, that means there's something that you don't have, and if you're economically stable, then you're able to, you have the resources that you need, that you can provide for yourself. So that's how I look at it.
You're right. And I was thinking more along the lines of perspective, like, what's economically stable for us might look like a financial mess to somebody else.
Yeah.
And, from where we're standing, I mean, just comparing who we are now and the way we live to how we were when we first got married, very different people. I mean, that was economically disadvantaged as opposed to where we are now. But I know that hopefully in another 5-10 years, we're going to look at ourselves now like, ooh,
we were economically disadvantaged.
that is the goal. But look, folks, we're not going to belabor the point. We do want you to start thinking about how you're actually supporting each other, not just emotionally, physically, spiritually, but also financially. Is it the way, did you make a conscious choice to commingle your funds? Or did you make a conscious choice to keep them separate because that was what you decided that was the best thing for you? Or was that just the way it's always been done? Or that's something that was modeled for you, so you follow the same thing? Are you following somebody else's advice? And does that advice still have credibility in the life you are building with your spouse? And if you sit back and you think like, nah, I mean, and we're not arguing one way or the other. I know what we do. I think it has merit. But if it works, whatever you're doing, if it's working for you and you guys are happy, whatever, then do that. But I would say, give some thought to, is there a better way? Is there another way? I don't want to say better. Is there a different way that might support, our desires a little bit better? Because even though we pull everything, I know that we have had discussions about, well, maybe, I don't know, should we create a separate fund for this, a separate fund for that, a separate fund for this?
We've got a lot of bank accounts already.
Yeah,
so.
we've tried actually doing things, and it's like, now that knowing me,
I'm like, Lovey,
that's just too much attention to detail.
Me, I'm cool with it, but he's like,
I was like, I can't just open up the box and look and be like, there's all my gold coins in that one box. Nope, I need to look in one box, see it all. I'm like, I'm good. If I got to look through 15 different boxes, I'm gonna get tired. Like, okay.
But see, that speaks to that goes back to personality too. You're the disc. Yeah. You're like, okay, this is, it's right here. Okay. That's it. And here it is. Whereas I'm able to navigate differently and it doesn't bother me because I'm like, okay, I know where that is. I know where that is. Okay. I'll just go through and, check the boxes or check all of that. You're like, and I just need to know that this is the way that it is.
That's so funny. She says that, but then when I ask, it makes all the sense in the world to her. But if I start asking questions, like, well, explain to me where this is at, and they say, I told you already. It's over here.
Because I did tell you already.
Because you got your system. Yeah, well, I wasn't listening.
See, and there is a problem.
Yeah, that's my highlight.
Look,
we're going to go into this. Look, going into the new year, we are going to talk more and more about disc assessment, what that means, and how you can actually get your disc assessment done and learn more about yourself, as well as better ways to communicate with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
That's more in the new year. But I think that's enough for today.
It is.
We've got a few more. We've got at least one more major episode that's coming out. And then we're going to take some time off at the end of this year. And we're going to go back and look at some of the highest rated shows, as well as things that were really near.
Some of your favorites. I mean, if there is a favorite or whatever that you may have, that you can recall, you remember, shoot it out to us and let us know. So,
Yep. I just made a command decision, which you're going to find on here. It's going to be in the show notes. Right now, there's 20% off the Married Into Crazy store. So if you go to shop.marriedintocrazy.com, you'll see all of the new gear, including a gift card that you can actually give to someone for gear over into our store. There's other couples out there that you believe are compassionate, real, accountable, zealous, and yielding. They're living a crazy life, a crazy marriage. They live by the principles by which we teach. Get them some gear. If that's you that we're talking about, get some gear. You get 20% off now. And I did have it set up to end on December 11th, which is this upcoming weekend, because it was a Black Friday sale. I just made the decision right now. Why not just run it through the end of the year? So I'm going to go ahead and use that code. Use crazy20 at checkout, CRAZY 20 at checkout, and you will get 20% off of the entire order. Not just one item, like some of the other stores. It's not buy one, get one free, or buy one, get one 50% off. It's 20% off your entire order.
It's funny because I was like, why did he say crazy 20? It should be crazy 22 because you're 22, but I got you.
20%.
I'm following.
Gotcha. Hey, Look, we love y'all. We thoroughly are invested in the covenant of marriage. We love providing any nuggets we possibly can, introducing you to whomever we can in order to lift your covenant and get you in a position to where you can just feel like you were better off today than you were yesterday when it comes to your marriage, getting you from here to there, whatever that may be for each of us individually.
Yep.
So until the next time,
Be blessed.
be blessed.
Bye bye.